piece of Welcome in, everybody. Episode number 32 here on the Motorsports Almanac podcast. Joined as always by Wyatt and Charles down there in the corner, and our guest for tonight, Brakehard, aka Matt. Matt, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Yeah, of course. Thanks. When you slid in, Shane literally slid into my DMs and asked me to come on the podcast, which was more than happy to, because I don't know much about the pooling side of the motorsport world. So figured I can come on and talk NASCAR, maybe learn a little bit from you guys.
See, now that surprises me because of based off, I think it says you're from Cincinnati, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. See, now that surprises me with as much pulling as there isn't in Ohio and everything. It really does.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been to a tractor pull. Like, I've seen it when it runs on like MAB TV or whatever, something like that. I've never even been to like a state fair here or like even the county fairs around here, which I know typically is sort of where you can find some of that stuff at. But yeah, something that I'm pretty much a novice to, so interested to learn.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Trust me. We're all three. I'd like to say pre-seasoned across it in multiple ways, but yeah, whenever I reached out to you, because I mean, the biggest thing I've been seeing going on in the news as far as motorsports goes is obviously the charter agreement. And it just seems like every week, like there's a new wrinkle. There's something that comes out with it. I saw your video last week, and that's why I jumped in and invited you on for this one. Was 2311 Racing wants to get all of the benefits from the new charter agreement, but they don't want to sign the charter agreement.
Yes.
I'm kind of inclined to side with NASCAR on this. Like, okay, you want the benefits, but yet you didn't sign. So what exactly are they trying to get out of it?
Yeah, so essentially what you said is what they're trying to do. They've requested an injunction from the courts, which would allow them to race in 2025 under the new charter agreement without signing that charter agreement, which of course they want to because it's financially beneficial for them to do that. Without having those charters, they enter as open cars, they get paid a lot less, and in the financial side of NASCAR, that doesn't really work out too well if you're trying to make ends meet. So they want to have those charters, but they don't want to sign it. And that's where NASCAR has responded last week in their court filing. I'm tired of reading all of these court documents, but it's going to keep happening. So last week, NASCAR filed a 25-page document and essentially said, hey, you want it, but you're not going to sign it. So we don't think that, you should be granted this injunction. And they called it a masterclass in contradiction, I believe is what NASCAR's term was for it, which is spot on. And there's definitely things in this where I agree with NASCAR on it. And there's things where I can see 2311's point on it, but 2311 Racing, in my opinion, does too much talking. And if they would just stop talking a little bit and stop being like, we're going to run as open cars, even if we don't get the charters, that's going to hurt them in the long run here. So yeah, I'm interested to see how this plays out. November 4th is the next court date when we possibly could get a ruling on this injunction.
Oh, that's next week.
Yeah, before the championship race, which could really make that championship stage at Phoenix really awkward if Tyler Reddick wins the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're really excited for that. I saw the end of Homestead, and by the way, why the championship race isn't still at Homestead at the end of the year, I don't know. I'm kind of tired of Phoenix, if I'm being honest, but
yeah,
it's gonna be really awkward in that winner's circle if Reddick wins the title. I'm kind of looking forward to it.
I wish Homestead was. I never would have seen myself ever saying this before. I wish Homestead was the season finale as well. I used to hate that track, but now it's like going back 20 years in time to what original Atlanta was.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's a cool track. I never would have said that before, but it has really come in.
Homestead has
Cena.
had this glow up from like when it was first built. It was first built as a mini Indianapolis Motor Speedway,
Yeah.
flat corners with tiny short chutes in between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Then it turned into a flat like New Hampshire, 1.5 mile flat oval.
Yeah.
Then they raised the bankings on it, and finally, like it's weathered into a point where it races really well. And the Gen 7 car on intermediates is phenomenal, and we saw that all play out on Sunday, which could not have gone better for NASCAR or even Tyler Reddick, who just absolutely sent it on the last lap and it stuck.
Yeah. That was an interesting end of that race. So, Matt, where do you see all of this really leading? Because, I mean, it's been well established that NASCAR sent this to the teams and gave them like X amount of hours to sign it. Where does this go if 2311 gets their way with it? What changes?
So that's where things get a little bit difficult, because NASCAR, if they do have to make concessions to 2311 Racing, doesn't necessarily have to make those same concessions to the 13 other teams that have already signed the charter agreement. So you could have them getting a better quote unquote deal. There is also some possibilities, and I don't think they're very good, of NASCAR having to sort of blow up the way it does business, depending on what the courts decide. If 2311 wins with their antitrust lawsuit and everything like that, we could see a fundamental change in how NASCAR is structured. It seems highly unlikely. The 2311 lawyer, Jeffrey Kessler, is pretty confident in himself. NASCAR hired a really good legal team as well on their side. I don't think that it's going to get that dramatic. I think eventually they will settle, because neither side really wants this. Well, 2311 would love for it to actually go to court. NASCAR doesn't want it to go to court. So we're going to see some sort of concessions made here. Fundamentally, I don't think we're going to see anything really change that much, other than maybe what, like, some of the IP stuff that 2311 is, hung up on, and, the not being able to sue and stuff like that. You might see some of that change, but overall, I think this is just kind of a big play for maybe not the biggest return that they're expecting.
Right. I mean,
but
so
it could be
this
drawn out for 18 months too. So
yeah,
we could be here for a while.
I don't think it's
absolutely.
going to stop, to be honest. I'd like to back up for a second for those of our viewers who don't understand what we're necessarily talking about with the charter system within NASCAR. I'd like to pull it back for a second before we get too far into the weeds and understand how we really got here. And what I see is that for the longest time, NASCAR was show up and race. Run your car, whatever it is. And there were legacy teams such as like a Junior Johnson or a Bud Moore who hit the end of their expectancy as a team and withdrew from the sport, and they had nothing to show for it other than the auction sale, so to speak, of what was in their shop. Now, in any sort of business, that's normal. You exit the business. If you're a contractor, you're worth what your scissor lifts were, your pickup trucks, your trailers, your loaders, blah blah blah. And if you didn't save up your money through the course of pursuing that to create a survivorship for yourself, well, shame on you. What they started to do was to look at stick and ball sports and say, hey, I have an equity in this event, in the participation in this event, in the presentation of this event. And I understand that. So now you get this charter that allows you a entry to the race and gives you something that you can turn around and sell to someone else that has value. And it has become, I don't want to go down this road, but it's become a speculative market. It has. But the other side of that story is that it really does not have an infinite life to it. It amounts to a license at this point still. So there is no guarantee that your charter is going to have value at the end of its quote life, unless you sign a new agreement to continue with it. The other thing that troubles me that is when we equate it to stick and ball sports, we used to have 43 teams that were at will. You had your provisionals for past champion, past race winner. etc. So the couple at the back. Now we chopped at 36. We got Chargers at 32. If I'm saying any of these numbers wrong, please correct me.
Yep.
But Chargers at 32. And I lost my train of thought. Where's it going with this? When it comes to stick and ball sports, throughout the course of, let's just say, an 80-game season, if it's NHL or NBA, 17 games if it's NFL, there's always one winner and one loser every week, and one of those two teams is playing in their home stadium. NASCAR's never that way.
Yeah.
You are always on the road, and there's always only one winner and 31 losers. So how are you going to take this model of charters, or I'm a licensee to be in the sport and no one else is, this exclusivity, and then turn it around into a revenue generator when you're never at home and my team might lose every single time it's out? I don't know necessarily that the model was ever destined to succeed.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those. So the way NASCAR has it set up as trying to operate as this charter system, which it's a faux sort of franchise model. So you have you're right. You have next year, they're planning for 32 charters. Currently we have 36 this year. And then you have your 4 open spots that you can go up to 40 cars. But so you have these 36 charters currently this year. The problem with this is the teams in NASCAR, they don't work coherently. They're working against each other inherently. They're both in the business to make money here. And then NASCAR, of course, owns half the racetracks, where with the NFL, NBA, MLB, they have a commissioner who works together with those 32 clubs, or however many are in baseball and basketball. They work together with that concurrently to create the most revenue for the sport, because that's how the revenue is generated. And then they have a distribution model that goes out from there. So all parties work together. Where in this situation, all parties are essentially working against one another. And that's what 2311 Racing and the Race Team Alliance initially wanted to change, was to create permanent charters and to create this actual franchise structure. Ultimately, that was never going to happen. The France family is not giving up power. The France family is not going to give up money. And that's their prerogative on their side of things. But then you throw in the fact that now, like you said, charters are only worth what they're worth through a 7-year period. So right now, starting next year, they've got 7 years of worth, and then they have to renegotiate after that, which is what we just went through right now. So ultimately, it does give you equity, but it's not this established equity. Yeah, it could be worth $40 million. You're right, Live Fast Motorsports last year. Or it could be worth $0 in terms of 2311 and Front Row Motorsport at the end of this year when they lose their charters. So that's where this model is broken. It's logical on one hand, broken on the other hand. And right now is like this weird in-between period of trying to get it all to sort of work.
Yeah, I agree. I'm thankful for the frank discussions that I see taking place around the sport, but a lot of the discussion I see also is using words like balance sheet, appreciating asset, contract, relationship, multiples. It's business. It's not. They're not talking about sport anymore. They're not talking about how to make the product on the racetrack any better. They're only talking about, how do I make money off of this? And most are admitting, at least on the race team side, that they're not.
Yeah. I mean, you had Jeff Gordon, a couple months ago, tell Dale Jr. on his podcast that Hendrick Motorsports hasn't turned a profit in years, which that honestly doesn't shock me. And guys like Rick Hendrick and Roger Penske, they're not operating these race teams to make money. But on the other side, we just had Tony Stewart talk last week about how he doesn't have a Hendrick Auto Group or a Penske Truck Rentals, and he needs it to make money.
That's a fair point. And a big portion of what's on my notes page is actually dedicated to that very concept. And you're 100% right. When it comes to Hendrick's cars, 4 of them, he's basically paying for the number 5 car out of pocket. HendrickCars.com and Valvoline has appeared on that car. That's him saying, I will write the check.
Yeah.
The 48, 100% funded Ally Financial. Yeah. He's a GM dealer. Duh.
B2B deal. Yep.
B2B deal. Makes sense.
Their headquarters is in Charlotte, by the way. I saw that building whenever I was there.
The other 2 cars in the middle have numerous deals amongst them Axalta, all right, you're going to repaint your car. We're using Axalta paint on it. Valvoline, we're filling your car with Valvoline paint. KBB.com, I'm Hendrick. Cars.com, I have all these used car lots. How do I value all my cars? KBB.com. So there, within his realm, it certainly makes sense. On Penske's side, same story.
Yeah.
Penske, Quaker State, two sides of the same company. We're putting that oil and stuff. Freightliner, what are all my trucks going to be? Freightliners. Discount Tire, that's what we're doing. Snap-on, you're buying your tools there. Auto Trader, that's how we're selling our used cars. There's a bunch of that stuff. You go to the Stewart-Haas side, and we have sponsors out the wazoo across all three race cars. And if you're a spotter or a scorekeeper, God help you, because they have crossed across every single race car. I don't blame Tony Stewart for saying enough's enough. However, we talk about the B2B star power of Hendrick and Penske. Tony Stewart's business partner is Gene Haas.
Yeah.
Haas Automation. You can't figure out B2B. Maybe he's too focused on the F1 stuff. Maybe.
Yeah. The Gene Haas has funded that team out of his own pocket for years now. I mean, to the tune of probably $40 to $50 million a year is how much he's cutting a check for them, which is ridiculous. And you're right. The fact that they couldn't figure out B2B, the fact that they can't figure out sponsorship the same way that a Trackhouse has figured out, or 2311 Racing, who have come into the sport and brought in new sponsors with them, or developed old relationships and turned them back into sponsors, is actually remarkable. But Stewart-Haas Racing this year has found some very random sponsors, and hats off to them. But yeah, like
Texas A&M, Fantic, whatever the hell that is, Bed Bath & Beyond, Overstock.com, Decisive Insurance. What the hell is that?
Dude, none of them make any sense. Some weeks I see them roll out their paint scheme, social graphic, and I'm like, what is this week? Josh Berry had Panini trading cards last week.
Yeah, what is Panini?
Hey, I don't hate on those. I don't hate on those. I'm a sports car guy. I don't hate on that one.
Rush Trucking made sense because that's an old Tony Stewart partnership, and the rest of them, and Zepp, like, okay, you're
Mahindra,
Zepp. After that, I'm going, what is this? But I see the same problem over on the F1 team. They have not been able to secure a partner ever of a big kind, which just tells me that Gene might be a fantastic businessman and can sell a lot of CNC machines, and he has a passion for racing. But when it comes to partnerships, he needs some help.
Yeah. Also, he did go to jail for a few years too for tax embezzlement. So, his business dealings are always been.
I didn't know about that one.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly is. The sponsorship model, we hear it all the time that it's broken. I mean, we're looking at Chandler Smith, who has a legitimate shot of going to the championship race at Phoenix if he has a good Martinsville this upcoming weekend, being out of a ride next year. And he's a two-time race winner this year, won once last year with Colleague. And part of it is like the fact that I think he bet on himself and took his budget over to Gibbs this year. But that's a guy that should not be out of the sport. I mean, he's a guy that's talented enough to win and ultimately just doesn't have that checkbook anymore from his parents to do it. And that's where it's like, this is broken, because he's a guy that should be hired to drive.
Sheldon Creed.
Yeah, Sheldon Creed, who
got a lot of guy just can't catch a break this year, man. I feel bad for the dude.
14 second place finishes, just brutal.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that I feel like because you talk about Trackhouse and then bringing in all the sponsors and everything, is it safe to say this year specifically has been a regression type year for them based off how hot they started whenever they came in, because of all that extra money going into their other programs that they've started?
Yeah, I don't know how much the extra money or the other money in terms of like the MotoGP stuff and whatever else they've been involved in, but they certainly have taken a step back. And I heard Jordan Bianchi on the Teardown podcast say this a couple weeks ago, where he was like, this is the old Chip Ganassi Racing, and they're performing like Chip Ganassi Racing did, where they'd be good for a win or two a year, but that was it. Like, they were never going to be these big overachievers where the driver winning 6 races a year, Kyle Larson winning 4 with them in 2018 or 2019. That was an anomaly. So it just feels like they're missing something. Of course, they're adding SVG next year, which should put them in contention for at least the 6 road courses. He's going to struggle on ovals, and I think they know that. That's why they've entered him in so many races at the end of the year here. But yeah, that's a team that has certainly regressed, and now they're probably going to get leapfrogged by Spire on that Chevy totem pole, which is going to be interesting.
See,
but how much of that though is them doing exactly what I just railed against about the balance sheet and the business model, and them recognizing where I'm going to spend my money at, and I'm going to hedge by being in all this other stuff, like a Chip Ganassi used to be, like a Rick Ware is, some of these other teams that are into all this other stuff, because at the end of the day, I've got 600 people in a garage mahal in Mooresville that I've got to pay their salary so that their families eat every day. I'm gonna be in sports cars. I'm gonna be in drag racing. I'm gonna be in MotoGP. We're gonna be in, World of Outlaws, whatever it is. Go all these different ways.
Yeah, Trackhouse is an interesting one because Justin Marks used his family money to buy that team from Chip Ganassi. And now I think that tap has maybe, I don't know this for a fact, but I think that tap's been turned off. So I think they had to get a lot more efficient this year in terms of how they were operating that team. Like you said, though, they got a great deal on that MotoGP team. Like, they bought it for pennies on the dollar. So that gave them a great in over there. They have a good manufacturer deal as well. But yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there, where they're kind of spreading themselves out because they do have a decent overhead to cover. Like, they have a lot of employees over at Trackhouse between their 3 cars, as well as their now MotoGP team and their development team as well. Plus they're an entertainment company on top of that. So they've got a lot of eggs in different baskets.
Yeah. I mean, you can't deny that they've brought in new sponsors. I mean,
as
I was talking about before we came on the show, Kubota, number one for me with doing what my family does and everything. I mean, I never thought I'd see a day where we'd have NASCAR diecast in our store. I walked down the store floor the other day. There's Kubota diecast of Chastain sitting there. So
that's awesome.
It's actually, it made its way to my house very quickly.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah. But I say for now, until we have some more questions, we put this to bed for a minute. Let's talk about some more exciting.
We do have one.
What's that?
To start with, from Cody, he's in the chat and mentioning the playoff structure, and I'll leave it to the field before I give mine. You can imagine where I'm going to go with it.
So is he talking about the stages or like the elimination style format?
Yeah, the chase or whatever they have to call it.
Do it both. Do it both.
Okay. Stages.
I don't mind the stages. I'm throwing that out there now.
Well, okay, yeah. Cody, clarify what you're asking. Is it points or the stages within a race?
I won't think he's saying stages within a race.
You can imagine where I'm going to go with both of these.
Based upon previous conversations we've had about this.
Yeah. So. I'll start off with this. Oh, stages. That's not where I thought we were going. Okay. Stages. Not a fan of stages. I'm fine with stages if we didn't throw a caution. If we didn't throw a caution, okay, that's fine. Just award the points at designated lap and let's keep going. Because right now we waste so many laps under caution. It drives me insane. Like this past weekend in the Xfinity race, or maybe it wasn't this past weekend, whatever. You go under caution for 7 or 8 laps at the stage break. You come back and now you've got a 18 lap stage if it's a 25 lap stage for some of these Xfinity races. And it just doesn't make any sense at all. Obviously, when we tried it last year with road courses, everybody complained. They're like, this is so boring. Well, it's not the stages that make it boring. It was the fact that the car is too good on road courses, that being the Gen 7 car. Ultimately, I'd be fine with scrapping it too, because when you try to explain the points structure to a new fan, you're like, well, you get awarded points at the end of the race, but you also get awarded points at this designated lap for stage 1, and only the top 10 positions get that. But somebody also gets a playoff point. Well, what's a playoff point? Well, when you get to the playoffs, it gives you an extra point for your ranking there, but then you also get stages in point 2, and at the end of the race, and you get 5 points for winning. It's just too much at times. So I would be in favor of getting rid of stages, but I understand why they're there, because ultimately we're tired of people riding around at Daytona and Talladega, which we still do, like just in a different form. They ride around 4 wide now instead of single file.
The 4 wide is a lot of fun though, whenever that happens.
It's very cool looking. Yeah.
Yep. Charles, what you gonna add on to that one?
Ryan sort of teed me up.
Bruce, what'd you do?
Let's go back to zip ties and bias
Zip
plies.
ties and bias plies.
Give me some 15-inch wheels on bias ply, 10-inch wide tires. I will show you some racing on asphalt. Get rid of these big, stupid wheels and these tires that you cannot slide. And if you do slide them, they pop.
They pop horrendously on your
literally, like, I used to rail against the entire car. I used to hate the entire car, and I'm over it all. Like, the car's really not that bad, but just give me back some sidewall and some bias ply, slide the cars. And always the argument has always been relevance to road car. That we want to win on Sunday, sell on Monday. That hasn't been a thing since like 1985. Come on. Who are we kidding anymore? It's if we're about entertainment, if we're about making a show, slide these damn cars around and you will get a show. You will find out who can drive and you will have one heck of a program, but they won't do it.
Yeah, that's my biggest complaint about the Gen 7 car. Like, it's a good race car. It's a really good race car. It's almost too good in certain aspects. But the tires, I get why we have 18-inch tires. Manufacturers wanted it. That's what they're putting in road cars. I get it, all that. However, no sidewall is a big detractor from what some of these guys do. Kyle Busch literally cannot drive the race car the way that he used to because he drives off the right rear all the time. Can't do that anymore because there's no sidewall to lean on with this. And as soon as he tries to drive it off the right rear, he spins out. Kyle Larson, when he started doing his Indy 500 stuff back in the spring, when he said that the Cup car drives a lot like the Indy car, and that's why he felt pretty comfortable getting into the Indy car because it felt pretty much the same what he was used to. That's where it's like, okay, that's too much now. We have too much, not too much downforce, but we have just too much grip in the tires because they're pretty much the same as what they have. You strip the body off of it, and yeah, it's a cage and everything, but dynamically, it's pretty similar to what IndyCar is doing, and that's, to me, the biggest problem. Gen 7 car is great on intermediates. We just kind of need a different tire.
Who was it who lost it going into 3? Was it lap 1 at Homestead?
Yeah, Justin Haley trying to cut down on Stenhouse.
He did a great job saving the race car with what the tire is.
Yeah,
like he should not have even been able to do that. That was a fantastic bit of driving to save the race car the way that he did. But then when he was done and watching the follow-up, trying to just get away from his spin out, he couldn't even drive the car out of the hole. It wound up spinning up the side of the racetrack willy-nilly because the tires were just not, and they were still appeared to me to be all up.
Yeah,
he hadn't popped any of them. It just behaved so bizarre. And like, I don't have a place for that. Like, if you want to race, everybody talks about the greatest show on dirt, right?
Mm-hmm.
World of Outlaws sprint cars, bias plies, stagger. You think this doesn't work on asphalt? Come on. Yes, it does.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does. We see late model racing and how good that is currently.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, can we talk about the move that Spire of putting Haley in there instead of LaJoy? I do not like that move in the slightest. I don't. It's nothing against Haley.
Would Corey have saved that race car the way that way?
I've always been a LaJoy guy, though. Always.
So
don't get me wrong. If I'm going to build a race car, I want one of LaJoy's seats in it.
Yeah.
Now that was something interesting that I learned. I didn't realize that that's how they were involved in NASCAR so deeply until I went to Charlotte.
Time.
That
his seats are prima.
Yeah. Corey's actually a really good welder too. Like, that guy can lay lines, which is really impressive for a dude that's full-time job is be a race car driver.
So what's he going to do now?
Hope he gets some budget together and stay at Rick Ware for next year, which, I mean, they at least have an RFK alliance. Yeah, the mid-season seat swap, haven't seen it since 2003 in this sort of fashion when Jeff Green and Steve Park swapped rides back then. I knew about it a couple days before, which was really weird, and I didn't say I wouldn't say anything about it until like the news started to get out more, and I didn't believe it at first when somebody told me, and then I was like, oh no, this is actually happening, and I didn't like it then. I understand it. Hendrick Motorsports has got a lot of belief in Justin Haley, so that's why he's over there. Do I see it? No, I'd have never seen anything out of him that tells me that he's going to be a future Cup Series champion or winner on speed. But somebody believes in him over there, and they don't believe in Corey. But
I hope
Corey's a
we're
nice guy.
wrong on that, by the way.
On the yeah.
I am calling it now. Wood Brothers Racing gets a win next year with Josh Berry behind the wheel of the 21.
I would love that. They're going to have a new crew chief too. Jeremy Bullins left the team.
I saw that.
Yeah. So that's going to be interesting to see who they get over there. Obviously, it's going to be somebody from the Penske camp.
Right.
But Josh is super talented and unfortunately kind of got thrown into the worst possible situation this year with Stewart Haas Racing closing down and him having to try to figure out what's next. But yeah, they're very hit or miss on what speed they're bringing to the racetrack now. But yeah, I think that guy's definitely talented enough to get them that 101st win now.
I mean, it's kind of like whenever Ryan Blaney was driving the 21 before he drove for Penske full time. It was so neat to see. But let's talk about some more exciting
paint scheme left in NASCAR.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We've got a car scheme returning here in a few weeks. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is bringing back the Budweiser number 8 on the late model car. How exciting is that? Charles, for you and Matt, probably you too. That's more of y'all style. I grew up really, whenever I was paying attention to NASCAR, with the 88 National Guard, Amp Energy, all that stuff. But still, nostalgic nonetheless. It's Dale Earnhardt Jr., for goodness sakes.
Yeah, I'm pumped about it. Like, when he got the trademark back in May, when Teresa let that expire, and then Dale Earnhardt Jr. Holdings, filed for the trademark, I was pumped about it then. I'm like, all right, what are they going to do with it? I figured they would just bring it back for the Xfinity car, and then he would maybe run it next year or whatever. Did not expect to see the Bud number 8 come back. And when he teased it last week, I was like, okay, like this is very, like something cool is about to happen here. And now we're going to get to see it November 23rd at Florence in the South Carolina 400, the super late model race. Yeah, it's just going to be cool to see Dale back behind the wheel of a Bud number 8. Never thought we would see it. Everything has lined up to work out. And like you said, for me, Dale Earnhardt Jr. number 8 was like my childhood. And then like the 88 was like, a little bit later on, where like for you, the 88 was your childhood car for him. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see it come back.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it screams nostalgia all over the place. And then seeing Kevin Harvick out west racing in the number 62 Busch Light car, that was cool to see. I don't think he won, but he had a good running nonetheless. He called it a real race car.
Yeah.
Too, whenever he ran that race.
Yeah, he said it was fun to spin the tires because he had enough horsepower to do it. Like, all right. That was
okay. Here we go. Another.
Yeah. Andretti gonna be making an ARCA start with Venturini Motorsports. I was not expecting that in the slightest.
I wasn't either. He'll be driving the 25 car for Venturini Motorsport a little over a week and a half now at Phoenix on Friday night in the ARCA West race, the 25 car, which that's race winning equipment. That car's won, multiple times. It will be interesting because it's the first time in his NASCAR ARCA career rather, that he's going to be in race winning equipment. The stuff that he's been racing over with Cook, they try their hardest, but like, as you saw when he ran that COTA race in the Truck Series, the whole rear end fell out of the race car without any damage. Like, they're just not bringing quality equipment to the racetrack. So him actually getting into quality equipment should give us a good gauge on maybe where he's at.
Yeah,
I'm really excited for him. And I will say that, to be in Venturini's equipment, we talked about, just a minute ago, mentioning that like, the number 8 was my time. Actually, I'm older than that. I remember Bill Venturini being a killer in the ARCA series, and to see him still out there fielding a race car that is top of the field. I mean, yeah, Marco couldn't land in a better spot when it comes to that series.
Yeah. Big Bill Venturini is one of the nicest dudes ever. We met him at an ARCA race one night, and some of my friends were just kind of drunk after the race. And he was like, "You guys want to push the car back to the pits?" Which, like, at Salem, you got to push it up out of the bank and into the parking lot.
Nice.
And my dumb friends were like, "Hell yeah, like, let's do it." It's like free labor for him. Just a super nice guy, and then hooked us up with some merch. But yeah, they're great people over there.
Yeah. I think that's referring to Dale coming back. He said he made the comment the only way he would consider is if it came back as a car, according to a video I watched. Yeah. For all of our viewers that if you haven't seen Dale Jr. download. Letter A, are you living under a rock? But letter B, Dirty Mo Media puts out some really good stuff, man. And his show in particular, I listen to it every week. I love it.
Yeah, Dirty Mo kind of has become the like NASCAR media outlet for all things. If you want like a different perspective from what like NASCAR Productions puts out, and yeah, Download is always one of those ones that I'm turning on every Wednesday or Tuesday, whatever day that comes out now.
Yeah, absolutely. But we've got some other stuff we got to cover. Matt, you're gonna hang around with us the entire time, I think.
Yeah,
sweet. So, been a little bit. We had our show 2 weeks ago. PDRA season is over, but we had some news come out of it. Wyatt, we have a new car going to Pro Nitrous for PDRA next year.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a new car. It's more or less a joining of two teams, I would say. I don't know if, Charles, you've seen the news too.
Drag Illustrated
yes.
put it out.
Well, it wasn't just Drag Illustrated. KTR, if anybody knows Killing Time Racing, Stevie Fast Jackson. And Tim Papp. Tim Papp is a top sportsman racer, runs a C7 red Corvette, runs top sportsman and nitrous combination. They're making the jump next year from top sportsman into the pro nitrous category in PDRA. In PDRA, they are separated on the pro mod side of nitrous only. Then you have the pro boost, which is all your blown.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're talking pro nitrous. Sorry, I got to turn that hat around.
Well, I don't really think it matters because it's either going to be like a Pat Musey type engine or now it's going to be KTR for Tim
yeah,
Papp.
but even the KTR would not approve of that hat being worn. So continue.
I'll go more into that with the other news I got from PDRA Racing. But yeah, it comes that they're making the jump. It's going to be switched over from a Pat Musey power plant to now. I listened tonight that Steve Fast will be creating an engine for this platform with the hopes of Jeffrey Barker being the car chief / tuner for that car. So along with Stevie Fast, which is super exciting because Stevie's been talking for a long time about getting back to the nitrous ranks. I think,
and he still holds the record for the quickest 8th mile, nitrous run. Like
right.
That. He's got it.
And I think that he wants to come back to essentially his roots, and and he just loves the nitrous category. And I think this is going to be a great fit. I'm excited to see where this program goes, especially for KTR expanding as they've always wanted to do. I think Tim being the runner-up in the PDRA top sportsman category points, he's going to be a threat right away. For one, he's a great driver, kills it on the light, and I think he's going to match up well with the formula that those guys got going on at KTR. So
yeah,
I think it's a good fit. I'm excited for where PDRA goes next year. Obviously,
me too. I hope I get to go to another one of their events next year.
PDRA puts out a great platform racing. I mean, I'm going to be curious to see where it goes, especially with NMCA not being there anymore. If some of the Extreme Pro Mod guys will step over there, if they're going to jump in the Midwest Drag Racing Series.
Yeah,
I hope
it sounds like the remnants of NMCA are going to be picked up by Tom Bailey to promote some of those events at the same tracks that were supposed to be a part of the 25 schedule. Not necessarily all of them, but some.
Right.
Okay.
But I think the part of it too is that in somewhere for the cars to go, because all those cars, I mean, if you watch NMCA racing, those cars are legit too.
Yeah.
They are fast. So I think it'll all pan out, but it just got to give it time. But the other news on the PDRA side that was just announced tonight on the Shake and Bake show is Lyle Barnett is going to be racing for Tommy Human coming next year in the Pro Boost category, which was formerly piloted by Marcus Burt and the newer Sal Camaro Pro Charge system, as well as the X275 car he has running, as well as the LDR car he was running this past weekend at No Mercy. So,
God, is he doing Cletus McFarland? Am I race 3 cars every weekend?
Yeah, he's gonna be starting in Orlando next week at the World Street Nationals. He's gonna start racing all 3 of those cars. So
next weekend or 2 weeks?
I believe it's next weekend.
2 weeks, because this coming weekend is World Cup.
Yeah, World Cup.
Well,
2 weeks at Orlando Street Nationals, I will be there.
Oh, sweet.
Right. So, yeah, I think Obviously, he's stated he is not done with the Scott Tidwell camp. Not done in any sort of fashion of Pro Mod. The plans are to run the full PDRA schedule next year in the Pro Boost category, which is going to be awesome because Pro Boost already is a killer, and you add another full-time killer driver like Lyle in there, it is going to be cutthroat all the time.
Matt's eyes are so glazed over at this point.
No, it's fascinating because I don't know much about it other than like watching Cletus videos. Like I've been to the drag strip, like the local one here and everything like that. But like to see you guys go so in depth about it, like in something I don't know, like I'm all ears. Like give me all this information.
Yeah. And we're tractor pullers for damn sake. We don't know anything but tractor pulling. It's like, no, we pay attention.
Yeah. So the store-bound PDRA for us, Matt, last year we had the we interviewed Spencer Hyde after he won World Series of Pro Mod, which is a huge event down in Florida in the wintertime.
Yeah.
And then Derek Ward, another racer, won it in the same category. We interviewed both of them at the same time one night, and we ended up making a race here on the show. So that's kind of we've been, and they invited us out for that. So they've been good to us, and we love covering them and everything. So is NHRA.
If anybody doesn't know about the Winter Series itself and what we were talking about with interviewing Spencer and Derek, the World Series, Matt, I don't know if you know about this. The World Series Pro Mod is the highest paying, gonna be now the highest paying Pro Mod winter race ever. The $150,000 to win this coming year.
Oh,
so it's a series now too. It's a 3-race
now. Yeah,
series awesome. Now with Drag Illustrated. So formerly in the wintertime for Outlaw Pro Mods, for 8th Mile, there's the Snowbirds, the U.S. Streets, and then you finally go into the Invitational World Series of Pro Mod. Well, this year's a new structure with the 3-race format, the DI Winter Series. Once you are invited to all 3 of those. $50,000 to win the Snowbirds. That's in December. The U.S. Streets in January, $75,000 to win, and finally the World Series of Pro Mod is $150,000 to win. So it is a very entertaining series. The past World Series of Pro Mod that Derek ended up winning before we interviewed them, it was the second quickest top to bottom qualifying field they've ever had. It was spread over by 600ths of a second. Number 1 qualifier was 358. And the number 32 qualifier, the last guy in, was 364 in the 8th mile. So,
Matt, we're seeing a progression in these events that are outside of
points running,
outside of point series or whatever. They're the big money.
Yeah.
You being more in touch with the oval track world, I'm sure you're seeing that as well. What are you seeing from your rocking chair as far as these big money races for whether it be dirt or asphalt oval that are a sub-series?
Yeah, like when you mentioned that, like Pro Shootout, that's what it's called, that they had in Bradenton last winter, last February. Yeah, so that was like the first thing that like sort of triggered in my brain right there, because the Race Team Alliance had sort of flirted with the idea of having like a money race outside of the NASCAR series in the off season. Then of course, like on the dirt side of things, like High Limit series was birthed out of Kyle Larson wanting to have more big money races, and then it has turned into a full series now. But we're seeing more races pop up, like the Eldora Million last year on the sprint car side of things, where you're getting these big money races because, you know, promoters and especially now the streaming partners know that's a great way to get people in the door. And we're seeing it on the asphalt side too. Kind of not so much in a series, but some of the more established races like the Berlin, like I think it's called Break the Bank or something like that up in Michigan. They've been getting bigger money races to come there every single year. And now we're sort of seeing that kind of filtrate itself out or go further. And it's good for everybody, but it's kind of like, I'm interested to see where it goes, because is it a sustainable thing, especially like on the oval side? Like, can you continue to have these big money races every year, or is this like a once, every 2 years type of thing? But on the drag racing side of things, I know drag racing is expensive. I've watched NHRA, I've watched Cleese's videos and stuff like that. So I'm happy to see that there's money being put into it and people finding sponsorships and purses that can sort of match, what the cost is.
From where you come from, do you have a feel for where the funding for the big dollar races is coming from? Is it from increased entry? Is sponsorship being secured? Is there some benefactor behind the curtain? What do you know that you could shed that maybe would inform the drag racing or the sled pulling side?
Yeah, all of the above, if we're being completely honest. A lot of this right now is, in my opinion, being driven by Flow Racing. Like Flow has put a ton of money into the racing side of things, and they've got a lot of big money events on their platform now.
Yeah.
And big money events have to have a budget behind them. And I think that they're footing this in the hopes of getting subscribers to come in. They're also landing big time sponsors as well. And if you have a big time driver like a Kyle Larson or whoever, it could be on the asphalt side of things too, you're more likely to attract a big sponsor that will help sort of pay this. But it's kind of a culmination of all those topics all in one.
Is Flow paying back into that?
I think so. Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, I got a question on, you said Flow Racing putting back into it. What do you pay attention to run on dirt track, don't you?
Yep.
Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series next year. I believe it's Flow Racing's going to be presenting it next year too.
Yep. So
where do you see that going now that their affiliation with it's becoming much, much larger? The increased payout at the end of the season upping 300,000 too.
Yeah, for them. So right now on the dirt side of things, if we're just strictly talking dirt, whether that's Lucas Oil, late models or high limit, Flow is pumping a ton of money into that in the hopes of being able to take down the Dirt Vision side of things. So this is right now a war between two streaming partners. And Flow is willing to spend that money to try to take out the other side. So that's why we're seeing the bigger payouts to get people to come over, and why we're seeing more names coming over to High Limit or to Lucas Oil. Like, I paid attention to Lucas series this year. I'm not even that big of a dirt late model guy, but it's on, so I'm going to watch it. I never would have watched it on the World of Outlaws side over on Dirt Vision because I'm just not going to pay for Dirt Vision, because Flow offers so many more series that are appealing to me, and they're winning the business right now. So it's at this bit of a crossroads to kind of see, how much of a division is there going to be and who survives this.
Yeah. And I think we're starting to see some of the same things in sled pulling. I mean, there's an event in June. It's the biggest payout for truck and tractor pulling that we've ever seen or ever will see potentially. So I'm hoping that kind of becomes the new theme for us on the sled pull side too.
What's the payout for something like that? I genuinely have no idea.
So I'll kind of speak into this because it's very local to me. It's only 10 miles from my house.
Oh.
So RJ Simon Crew 300 Raceway, which holds the Yankee Dirt Classic here mainly every year in August. The Yankees over $100,000 win, stock car race, late model, whatever it is, the feature that year. And the thought process behind it was that when competitors come in to race something like this, they're putting up a lot of the entry fee, which goes late into the purse. We have not seen that in the pulling world, where more or less the payouts are coming from sponsorships, the associations themselves, and your membership license at the beginning of the year, whether it's a non-points license or a points license on a regional or national level. The thought behind this new event, which is happening here at Farley, is taken behind the Yankee Classic entry, where you up the entry fee, which is going to be $2,500 enter per vehicle you have to pull that weekend in a class that you qualify for, in hopes that the winner on Saturday night for each class is $50,000.
Yeah.
So, and we have never seen that in sport of pulling. The largest payout for this in the recent years is the Mack Trailer Winter Nationals, was put on my Mack trailer at the truck show in March, which is $10,000 put up by Mike Connie Mack Trailer Crew.
Well, Wagler did a 20,000 pro stock shootout once.
Was
it 20? Okay.
The very first one was 20.
I did.
Okay.
Right. The first one was 20.
I forgot the first one was, yeah.
Then it went to 10 for every year on out.
Yeah. And then we still have our ones that pop up too. They're like 5,000. And I think in September, the one I was at, you could go home with 11 if you won everything.
Not to be that guy, but 5,000 in today's dollars.
Yeah.
It doesn't match what you would win in the 1980s, dollar for dollar, with inflation, what you would win for a national event back then. Like, it has not kept pace. It just hasn't.
So that's what I was going to say. Like, so these guys are just doing it for the love of the game, essentially.
Absolutely.
Nobody's making money.
To devolve it is a swinging dick contest. It really is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. which is fair. But yeah, I didn't realize that. I'm glad that you're getting $50,000 payouts. I didn't realize purses were as low as $5,000 because I know those.
Oh no, that's not the lowest
as
they
low.
are.
Oh,
That is not the lowest. Oh god, no.
The national event winning in Benson, North Carolina last year for our class, which is super farm, was $750.
Oh my god. That didn't
Yeah.
cover your travel.
No.
Yeah, from our location is 18 hours one direction.
Yeah, that's
You
brutal.
spend double that.
Matt's sitting here like, and this is why I'm not in truck and tractor pulling.
But as
We
bad as
love
we
it.
make all that sound, I'm going to put my salesman voice on here and say, you can never get closer to more horsepower for longer than you ever can at a sled pull.
Oh yeah.
If you
This
want to
is very
see
fair.
15,000 horsepower screaming your face from 80 feet away for 15 seconds, go to a sled pull. There's nowhere else on the planet you can do that.
Matt, how far from Louisville are you?
We're about hour and a half, 2 hours. Like I'm in Cincinnati, so yeah, not that
Well,
far.
we know where we're bringing you.
Yeah, we're going to bring you
you're
in.
farm show with us, buddy.
When is it?
Or wait, are you going to Daytona?
In February?
Yeah.
Ah,
Sorry.
Well, there is
what?
also this
Just once, I would give that up.
Yeah. Man.
Well, there is this
It's
other
crossed my
event in
mind
Ohio.
too.
Where's the other one in Ohio?
Bowling Green.
Bowling Green, Ohio.
That's a
Oh,
little
okay.
bit of a ways from you, though.
Up 75. Yeah, probably about 3 hours.
Yeah, we're there.
2.5. I've done it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bowling Green
Yeah.
is what we get to the NHRA U.S. Nationals for crowd size. It's roughly 35,000 people on Saturday night.
Yeah. Every day.
Oh wow.
It's awesome.
It is
Oh, yeah.
huge.
All right. When
But-
does that happen though?
August.
Oh, okay. I can
You
make
don't-
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Third weekend
Well,
of August.
What you doing in January?
No,
It
geez.
depends on what part of January.
Second
Charles, 9th through the 11th.
Nothing that I know of. My ski trips are after that, so we're good.
There's an indoor pool you need to come to in
Oh.
Indiana that weekend.
What part of Indiana? I'm down.
Just west of Indy.
Yeah,
Okay.
just west of Indy.
That's not bad.
So Charles and that's actually going to be our next show. I think Clint's going to be on our next show, guys, to talk about Midwest Winter Nationals. Midwest Winter Nationals literally ranges from where you get your start in truck and tractor pulling all the way up to the big horsepower stuff.
Oh, okay.
It
It's probably
is-
the best
We
place.
colloquially call it, and the Super Bowl is single charger.
Yeah,
If you've
Okay.
got one turbocharger on your diesel, you're there.
yeah. You won't have any of your multi-charger stuff, but just to show you like where it starts to where it goes, as far as that goes, that's a perfect place to introduce you to truck and tractor pulling.
All
I
right.
think.
I'm down. I've never experienced it, so let me know.
We're gonna put you down on the chalk line for light pros.
All right.
Oh no, we're not gonna do that to him, are we?
Yeah, we are. Come on, you want to get
Ooh.
what if you take him to the U.S. Nationals? Would you tell him no? Don't stand in the starting line for top fuel. Come on, yeah, we would.
Maybe.
Yeah,
It
Shane,
almost
where
blew
did I,
me away.
I mean, I've been to the U.S. Nationals before. I've cried, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I've been there when we fired
Yeah.
when they
yeah,
fired him up. So
Shane,
Yeah.
where did I tell you to stand the first time you went to a metro
I
race?
know.
Right on the
Yeah.
damn starting line.
Yeah. Yeah, Matt, definitely we need to get you out there whenever we're out there for sure.
all right, yeah. Like I said, I've never experienced it, so I'm down to check it out.
Sweet.
And
See, more eyes coming into the sport, Charles.
well, and
We're gonna change up that die cast that's on those shelves behind you.
Yeah.
and I don't know. I gotta ask you, Matt, on the question you're talking about when you had to push the car back up to the pits up the high bank there.
Yeah.
What is the crowd and the atmosphere like at a race? Because we know what the family feels in pulling. What is it like where you experience it?
That is a very good question.
So are we
Max.
talking like on the grassroots side of thing or like big scale? side?
Start to finish. I don't care where you want to go with it.
Yeah. So I'll start with grassroots. Salem Speedway in Indiana, about 2.5 hours from the middle.
I so want to go there.
Yeah, middle of nowhere, Indiana. It's one of the 3 like sister tracks, the high banks of Indiana. And it's stuck in the 70s. And I have no problem with that because everybody goes there to just watch racing. There's no fancy video board, nothing like that. Everybody's just there to tune in. And as soon as the race ends, they open up the gates and you can walk down onto the front stretch into pit lane and hang out with the teams and the drivers and everything like that. Like a few years back, we had a beer with Michael Self post race and stuff. And it's just like a community type of setting, which is, it's badass. Like, it's super fun. And you can talk to anybody there. Joe Gibbs sat next to us a couple years ago when Ty was there. So
Wow.
yeah, it's all just
Hello.
like, everybody just shows up to watch. Probably about 6,000 to 7,000 people. Super fun. On the
Mhm.
flip side of things, like, I've been to Daytona 500. I've been to Indianapolis 500. Indianapolis 500 this year was the most in tune I've seen a crowd in a really long time. Like,
Yeah.
I've said multiple times, like on videos, when Pato O'Ward took the lead on the white flag lap going into turn one, the crowd erupted in such a way where like it like startled me, where like I turned around and just the sea of people are going insane. Something that, like, you'll just never experience outside of like, you know, your team winning a football game or something like that. Daytona 500 is a little bit more tame than that. I don't know what it is about the crowds that are just different, but I've also
might have to do with the way that it's all shaped. Like Indy, it's like,
yeah, Indy, you're like in
and Daytona's not.
Right. Yeah, Daytona's, it feels a little bit more spaced out, where Indy, like, you're just kind of crammed in there, 300,000 people, you know, just stuck into this racetrack, which is wild. But yeah, Daytona 500 is super fun as well. Bristol's pretty intimate. Martinsville feels like, you know, a local hometown track. And then dirt racing, Lawrenceburg Speedway is like the local dirt track to me in Lower
I was
Indiana.
going to ask you about Lawrenceburg.
Yeah.
I really like that place because it's high bank. I wanted your opinion on that.
Lawrenceburg's so much fun. They just own ownership change this past year, and they've done some really good things there. But it's one of those things where everybody, once again, is there to just watch racing. No fancy video boards, just a scoring pylon, and everybody is solely focused on that. And yeah, it's a really fun time. But I'm glad that, like, on the bigger scales, on the IndyCar side of things, we can still see that passion and everybody being, you know, there for the event.
If I can catch an early spring 410 non-wing sprint race at Lawrenceburg, I will hit you up and we'll go together. If I can make that work, that'd be sweet. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, well, I went to one in April. That's like their first show, like the first USAC show there is like in early April. Yeah. Non-wing sprints are some of the sketchiest race cars you will ever see in your entire life. Like, I would never. I have the opportunity to go test a micro sprint down in North Carolina, and I'm going to do it. But I'm 6'5". Like, I'm very tall.
Really?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. So, like, it's hard for me to fit into a race car, but like, I'm only driving one that has a wing on top of it. Like, I have no interest in driving anything non-wing just because it's so sketchy. Like,
that's what makes it sweet, though.
Super fun.
I wouldn't do it. I agree with you. I wouldn't do it either. Strap me into an unlimited making 15,000 horsepower. I'm not intimidated at all because I got a sled behind me. Put me in a non-wing sprint, forget it. I ain't even getting out of the pit lane. No, I'm set on that. Like, I have a professional job. I need to work. Like, I can't afford to go tumbling in a non-wing.
Yeah. So, Matt, is your blog like what you do full time?
No, so I have a full-time professional job.
I thought it was based off like how many videos you have come out at a time during the day. I was like, oh yeah, this dude does this for a living.
Super efficient. From 4 to 5 p.m. every day. It is locked in and pumping out as many topics as we have for the day.
Well, heck, actually, we really never did it. Give a little background on yourself, because you do have a regular job during the day.
Yeah. Yeah, I work from home too, which makes it super nice. So this office is where I spend a lot of my day at, just on the other side. Yeah, exactly. Charles, on the other side of the screen here is my actual desk. So yeah, I just do marketing, and then started doing this, which has really picked up a lot for me and has made a lot of really good connections. So I've been able to attend some fun stuff over the last 2 years, more so than I had in the past. But yeah, no, I grew up in Cincinnati, went to school here as well. And then, bought a house and did all the things.
Are you a Reds fan by chance?
I am. Yes.
Yeah, me too, buddy. It's okay.
My brother works for the club, so it just is like a double stake.
No way.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, by the way,
update on the World Series as we're doing this. End of the fifth, 5-4 Yankees.
Oh.
Right now. Yeah, go figure the Dodgers pitching has bit him in the rear end again. But yeah, y'all, we've got so much other stuff going on. John Force went out to Las Vegas this weekend.
Is going out to Las Vegas.
Or is, yeah, my bad. We've got tractor pulling events going on this weekend. Battle at the Farm going on out there in Hillmar, California. And then the biggest diesel truck pull all year long, Diesels and Dark Corners in Georgia. What was that?
Second biggest.
Diesel truck one?
Second biggest.
What's the first?
Shied.
For diesel trucks?
For
diesel
numbers,
truck
yeah.
pulling.
Shied, yes,
Okay.
by far.
For diesel truck pulling? My bad.
Yeah. Going back to John Force thing, I mean, we can still stick on the racing side. I watched your video the other day. I agree with you. I do not think we will see John back in the car, but I think it's such a great sign that we will see him back at the racetrack.
Yeah.
For the fans, I think the fans are just going to explode in those pits.
I do too.
I mean, I love the man to death. I mean, he's done so much for the sport in general and in the motorsports industry itself. I mean, if not having John Force at the racetrack, I think for everyone can agree, is such a weird feeling.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, the man's 75 years old. I don't want to see anything bad happen to him. Obviously, traumatic brain injury at any age is difficult. Traumatic brain injury at 75 is super difficult. And in that video that they posted, I'm not sure if you guys watched it, there's a lot of cuts in that video. And it's just because he's recovering. Like, it's straight up, like, it's not a bad thing. It's just kind of the reality of the situation. But him going back, I think, is going to be a huge boost, not only for the fans, but also for that team as well. Like, they just got their leader back and they're in a championship fight. So that's all the motivation they could ever want.
I think at this point in the season, it's not a fight anymore for Funny Car, because I think we know who's going to win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Austin's got that on lock.
Well, I can still get him fired up.
I think if he goes into Vegas and wins it, it is sealed.
Yeah, they have what, 2 events left or 3?
2.
Okay.
Vegas and the
Vegas
World
and
Final.
Pomona, and
Yeah.
I felt like maybe Fast Jack would have gave him a fight, but had he not gotten vertigo and had to sit that one out, I mean, now it's Austin's to lose.
Yeah, it really
But I think
is.
it'd still be cool though if they go and sweep the top 2 positions.
And they could. They legit could. They legit could. Yeah.
Yeah, they absolutely could. Yeah, Charles, I meant to ask you, did you see the call outs that they have made for Diesels and Dark Corners this weekend?
I saw the allusion to it that there were going to be some, but I did not see the specific ones that were being made. Other than Hellfire versus who was it in 3-0? There were those 2.
Jennifer, you were watching, I'm pretty sure. You want to
Yeah, Jennifer's watching.
Yeah,
I think
Jen was watching.
So from what I see here on her page, it's O'Brien versus Fleece, Bosch versus Motec, Dodge versus GMC, Manual versus Auto, Man versus Woman, Friend versus Friend, South versus North, Young versus
so
Old.
I did see that. I did see that same litany of stuff, but that's kind of really vague, other than the specificity of Jen versus Moo Money. Yeah, Jen and Moo Money. Those are the specific ones. The other ones is like, okay, I mean, it's cool. Don't get me wrong, but like, that's not.
Yeah.
Like,
you guys want to explain to Matt?
Like, who even knows who's got Bosch versus Motec, and then here comes this P-pump caveman crusher and blows both out of the water. So I mean, what did you do there, right?
You guys want to explain to Matt what class this actually is?
So Charles, you know more about diesel trucks than I do.
So the easiest way to explain them is by charger size. Mm-hmm. So we start with 2.6 smooth bore. That's all the air that you can suck in. 4 tires, DOTs. 3.0 bigger turbo. Now you can put duals in the back, 6 tires, and then we go to super stock, which is anything goes, multi-charger, cut tires. Have fun. Yeah. I mean, that's the really 10,000 foot view of the whole thing and how it works. But within those, like some of the call outs are like Motec versus Bosch. Like, they're both standalone. Who gives a shit? You know, at that level, you're probably going against some guy with a 10 millimeter screwdriver and a P pump. Like, what are you proving?
Yeah. Most of the time, I'm always just interested to see who the heck tries to call out Craig Dickey.
I mean, I'm not hating
who's
on it. I'm
be the
certainly
one
not
that
hating on
does
it.
it?
Like, it's cool, but What was the other one? Freedom versus O'Brien.
Yeah.
O'Brien versus Fleece. Yeah.
Yeah, Fleece versus O'Brien. Those are engine builders.
Okay.
And they both build badass Cummins. Well,
Yeah.
what if Humpy comes in and goes, Duramax, bitch? Like, so
Yeah.
what?
In the diesel truck world, the Duramax, would you consider Duramax the Power Strokes the outliers?
Yeah, Power Strokes for sure. Duramax, not so much anymore.
Right. So the one that's always hit up on the internet that's such a hit anymore is what we call the Cummins Killer.
Yeah.
Cummins Killer is at the top of the line diesel truck pulling. It's a super stock diesel truck. It's a triple turbocharged, was it 480 cubic inch billet Duramax?
He fucks up all the bets because he's V8 and he's P-pumped. So he screws up everything.
But they have worked on that engine program for I don't know how many years, and that finally paid off for them this year, winning the points title. I don't know if he ever won a hook all year, but he was there at the right time.
On the PPL side, he did. On the NTPA side, he was just consistent.
Yeah.
But for it being a 4,800 horsepower triple turbocharged Duramax, it's kind of insane.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, so Matt, whenever you come to Cloverdale, you'll see 3.0s, you'll see the 2.6s, and you'll see a lot of cool things. And hopefully before we go to announce the show, Charles and I will take you around and show you like all the different things for sure.
Yeah.
And some great people too that are more than willing to explain it.
Now
the people are second to none. The contentiousness and the animosity that tends to exist in the rounding round world doesn't exist in the straight line world. It just doesn't.
No.
And that's what I was alluding to. Yeah, that's what I was alluding to earlier when I was asking the question about the grassroots portion, the community of like what you do and what you pay attention to compared to what we see in the polling world. The polling world, I mean, Charles and Shane can attest to this. We consider ourselves just one big old family.
Right.
Oh, yeah. That's how we all know each other. I mean, for goodness sakes. It really is. Is Jumpin' Jack Flash still relevant? Yeah, Jumpin' Jack Flash still running here. He's running Mid-South with us this year, Chris. He's still here. Yeah, don't worry.
You can't consider him irrelevant when he's doing something that literally no human being on the face of the planet is doing.
Sean, I've had similar seasons. We're just going against not so much of a call out. Huh, okay. Cool.
Oh, come on. Talk some smack, Jen. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, so that's going on this weekend. And then, man, we've had a bunch of polling vehicles move around too.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Why, have you got the list pulled up or have I got to get it pulled up?
I've got it somewhat pulled up here. No, but I was going to say, Matt, when it comes to the polling world, you'll never guess in the horsepower some of these things are pushing. That's what people ask all the time is like, holy crap, they actually make this much horsepower. It's like, yeah, they actually do.
Yeah. I mean, you said 4,000 plus out of a Duramax with triple turbo on it. Yeah, wouldn't have expected 4,000 to come out of that. So
no.
And obviously, you said it's built and everything, but like, damn.
Yeah. So, and what makes it unique is that it would still swing a factory stock Duramax crank.
Okay. Yeah.
So I mean, it's everything above it and around it is custom,
right?
But it would still swing what GM made.
Interesting. So, do you guys all drive diesels then?
No,
I don't drive shit. I hold microphones.
Okay. So, no, I mean like just dailies, like diesel trucks.
I've got a 7.3 Power Stroke, and then my other daily is my non-company car is about to be full idiot Volkswagen Golf R.
Oh, you're going all in on it?
Like that.
Yeah, I'm going all in on it.
Yeah. I have the Duramax out of the group, so I'm kind of impartial to Cummins Killer.
Fair enough. I come from a Cummins family, so like I'm at least familiar with that side.
Yeah, so that's the majority of the engines you'll see in the diesel trucks. Yeah. It really is. Yep. You have your few outliners, but man, let's just talk about some of these moves that have happened in polling, right? So Matt, based off what you call it on your TikToks with NASCAR, this is our silly season.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like everything's selling or on the move and stuff like that. So Triple Alpha Process was up for sale. It was not up for sale very long. It has gone down to Texas. Cody Lee, who bought Adam Kincaid, the truck Adam Kincaid drove, the Hills Brothers truck, He has purchased that one, made a pass with it last weekend in Lufkin.
And by rumors, that is not the only one that's going to be going down that way.
No.
It sounds like
before you continue with that list, just on the Lufkin thing, who had that twin turbo, Allison?
Doug Voth.
Oh, how did you forget about that?
That's that's the Griffin Growl. That's the new version. It's
really? Wait,
yes,
so that wasn't an Allison. That was the Rolls?
That's the twin turbo Rolls Royce Griffin.
Hey, that's the reaction we like to get.
Shut up. That was that.
Yeah.
That's the Griffin Growl. That is still the Rolls Royce.
That just became the sexiest tractor on the face of the planet. Oh my God. If you got a picture of that, you need to show him.
Shane, pull it up. Go to
I'll find that.
I was gonna say I don't know how to find it.
Go to Doug's page, or you go to
Will Mans.
Will Mans will have it. Shane, go there.
Am I going for it, or is Charles going for it?
I can't share it because I don't have that.
Yeah, you
privilege.
can. We put your screen up before.
Have I? All right, I'll find it. I'm on it.
Yeah. So
preparation will run down what he's about to see. This is, if he gets the picture up, this is what we call a modified class.
Okay.
This is not a tractor considered or a truck. It is a modified. So you'll see anything. This is a twin turbo Rolls-Royce Griffin that comes out of an aircraft.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matt, also to give you a broader aspect of pulling, it's not just in the United States. It's big over in Europe too.
Oh,
really?
Huge in Europe.
Would not have guessed that.
They get bigger crowds than we do. It's insane.
They have this event over there that is all on our bucket list. It's called Power Weekend Mata.
I'm going in 2 years. I don't care what.
It's in the middle of the Netherlands. And, so it is a massive concert with pulling as well. And what's the crowd size like during the concert? It's like,
it's insanity. It's like
20,000,
40,000. Yeah, it's
like
something crazy. And the unique thing about them too is that they always bring 2 American teams over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're gonna have to let it in, Shane.
Yeah. Look at that.
Oh,
that is a beaut.
Zoom in on a little bit, Charles.
That magnifying glass up there.
So you can see the twin turbos to the left there covered up. And then
we have to have protective shielding around our turbochargers. Have to.
Makes sense.
So
Doug, you're my hero. I love you forever.
Oh, that's so pretty.
So
I want to see a video of this. I want to hear what it sounds like.
So in the modified class, Matt, so in the Outlaws, this is the Western Association we consider that runs from South Dakota to Texas.
Okay.
This class will have something like this, which is a Rolls-Royce engine. They'll have Allison engines as well. They'll have 2 Hemis side by side. Two blown Hemis. You'll also see a triple stack Chevy. And then when you come over to the PPL / the NTPA side, when it comes to modifying the Unlimiteds, you'll see 5 on one. So
that's crazy.
Oh, yeah. That's why I asked if you were going to farm shows, mainly for the modifieds on that Wednesday. That was the main reason I was curious.
All going through one drive shaft to the rear tires.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We're kind of nuts.
Just general question, where are you guys getting tires from for that? Like, is there like a specialty like tire for that, or are you guys just repurposing like a tire for a different type of thing?
No, they're specialties.
Okay. And I'm guessing they're expensive.
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
Just to put in this perspective, on our class alone, the Super Farm class, which is not really an ag type tire, but
I don't want to say, I was going to say, I don't know where you're going with that because I had another name for it. That was what was the starter class was.
Yeah. I mean, you're with rims and tires, you're talking about $12,000 a set.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's expensive.
And you get to the big 30.5s, which are the larger ones, which the modified and supers run, they're 18, 20.
Yeah. And how long are those lasting?
Depends on what technology comes out.
Okay.
To be quite frank, that has been our fight here the last few years is the tire technology.
New technology matters, and if you encounter a very gravel laden track where it chews the bars out and you can't fix them, that'll kill a set too. Realistically, though, I mean, like good tracks, what, a season? I mean, at least.
Oh, okay.
More than that.
I mean, I'll get 2 out of mine. Like I'll sharpen them in between, but
yeah, ours are on our 3rd set. We're on 3rd year on this set.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's not okay. It's
a
little bit more
bigger classes that with the Mitoses specifically, Mitos tires.
Mitos is a like we were talking about in Europe. Mitos is a European-born brand, which is now being produced and is very popular now in the U.S.
Yeah.
The neat thing about the Mitos tire that is cool to introduce to you is that they come out of the mold like a big slick. There's no bars, so you can do whatever you want. And what I have not seen is drastic changes in bar angle, but we have seen, based on the class that you're running, how many lugs are cut in around. Like the really high tire speed, the unlimiteds, the big diesel supers, the big alcohol supers, a lot of lugs go in those tires. What I have not seen, interestingly enough, and I'm kind of curious to see if anybody's ever going to challenge this and try it just to see what would happen, is to go down to what we would originally call a single cut and throw that in at Farm Show, because those used to work there. Remember that? Well, maybe you guys don't. You're too young. But go down to like what we would originally call a single cut and try that at Farm Show on a Mitos tire, and then dare them to outlaw you for running a single cut when it's a no cut blank tire, right? So how do you tell me no?
There's a whole lot of mixed rules around tires in our associations. It's not even funny.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds a lot like dirt racing, where you have different compounds and different tire numbers that you can run each week.
Yeah, it's there's so many different things. I mean, it's like trying to relate to dirt track racing. I mean, trying to do different cuts in those, and it's insane. We said, our sport is literally no comparison in some points.
Yeah. Hey, Charles, you wanted to hear it? Do you hear anything?
No. Nope. Hit the mute in the top right.
Okay, that helps. Still nothing?
No, yeah, I hear it. Didn't get very far.
No, he had that thing still extremely conservative.
Yeah, I can tell, man. He's running that thing fat as you can get. So all that white mist blowing out of there, that should not be there. He's got the fuel set up real fat.
Got it.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
he's got wastegates on it as well, trying to prevent overboost. I'm sure the gates were open really early, so that didn't help either. It was not driving the Chargers hard enough to use whatever fuel he was delivering. And so here's another thing we talked about on the diesel side, like the Motec versus Bosch. On the diesel side, you can run electronic fuel delivery on diesel classes. But what Doug Volth is doing on the mod side, and what the tractor guys cannot do, is electronic. Everything is mechanical. So you are running all kinds of metering valves, return pills, wastegates, all this stuff. And for that to be like a first hook out on it, I'm sure it was not only set to deliver rich, but the gates were probably open really, really early. And so it really wasn't delivering any boost either to match what the injectors were trying to cram into those cylinders. What is so did we discuss that? It's the Rolls-Royce Griffin, which would be an old aircraft engine, 1,600, I'm going from memory, 1,650 cubic inches V12.
Yes.
Yeah.
12 cylinders.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy. But just to kind of finish off, the vehicles that have moved, we all know Preparation H went to Shelton's.
Yes.
Second Degree Burn, Wyatt, don't you have it on good accord that they're going to be re-debuting this weekend out in Cali?
So it's not Corzines. It is the former Corzine tractor that's going to re-debut I think it's the Barcelos family from California.
Yeah.
Running at the California Golden State Invitational next week as a twin engine tractor.
Ruckus Shell Shocked is sold to Kevin Moore out there in Cali.
So that's also another note I had. Ruckus and Shell Shocked, which is now Kevin Moore's modifieds now, twin 4-engine tractors. He's got such an involvement, and they'll be at the Golden State Invitational next week. They will not be at Dylan's Pole this weekend because Kevin will be with the fuel car team this weekend in Vegas. So Jeff Deal and his racing team, Speed Tech Motorsports, is with him. So that's going to be cool. I'm very curious of how that team is going to row not only the fuel ranks as well as the polling side, and obviously their road course team too, with Speed Tech having a lot to do with like Porsche 911 road course cars and other nostalgic stuff like that. So
right. So then after that, Bowers Diesel Super is in Iowa.
Yep, back home at Bowers right now. It's just it'll get done before next season.
Yeah,
I don't think we'll see a farm show.
Rumor flying around of a possible new 2-engine mod in Kentucky of Richardson, I guess. I hadn't heard that one.
Yep. If you've seen any videos from Chase and their team, they had purchased, I believe it's the old Super B of Keith Wason, which is possibly going to be the new twin engine mod coming out this next summer.
Yeah.
Keith himself is getting out of the sport.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate to see too. I mean, I know where he lives all the way over there in Maryland and everything, but still unfortunate.
He's a great guy. I never got the chance to meet him. That's a bummer.
I bet he'll be around, but if you guys do ever get the chance to meet him, ask about his affiliation with Travis Pastrana.
Ooh.
It's 2 Maryland guys.
Yeah.
There is a amazing story between his family and Travis. It is you just have to listen to him.
Yeah. Wildman's diehard deer, quote unquote.
Yep. So late in season, Wildman's debuted the second diehard deer. The old chassis was sold, and I'm not going to disclose who it's got sold to, but it is the newer version is out. It's a newer Engler chassis. Matt, you've heard of Engler machine before, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yep.
So Tim used to be a truck and tractor puller back in the day. He had 6 on his Charles on mission, or was it 7? Was it 7? It was 7. Okay. Yeah, Matt, I'll show you, Matt, after the show's over. Remind me to show you something.
Okay.
So we have that one.
Tim is very heavily involved in the sprint car world now.
Very. Fuel injection
systems. I mean, Chase Briscoe goes to him. Who else? Shane, who else?
Oh gosh, Casey Kane's stuff has been in there. I mean, I walked in there some days and I looked down at the floor. Yeah, T-Mez, Tony Smoke's been in there. I mean, I've seen his car in there before. Tim Engler doesn't live very far from me. He's about an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes maybe. So, and he does all of our chassis work and stuff like that for our pulling tractors.
Like your tractor and your brother's Diesel Super.
Yeah. Simon's new Red Pro, the new Kubota Super Stock. I laid eyes on that thing. That thing is clean in person.
It's not new. It's reskinned.
Hey, man, you put new on the sheet. That wasn't me.
Everybody calls it new, but it's reskinned. It's just got Kubota.
Chris Weidinger and crew coming back in 2025 in Super Farmer JD and another one.
Yep. So talks at Sandwich, Chris Weidinger and his team will have a second tractor out next year once JD finally gets back. So they'll be running the full-time circuit again, which is awesome to see because Chris and his family are amazing.
Yeah. And then the 3 that are set to debut at Midwest Winter Nationals, Brad Cochran, Hayden Otto, and Grimes.
Yep, that'll be your first
debut at Cloverdale.
That'll be your first full fleet of a component light pro stocks.
Yeah. There's 2 other light pros for sale, though. Craig Webster's light pros for sale. MX340, absolutely gorgeous looking tractor. Whiskey Business is for sale. I don't like that. I want to know what's going on there. I kind of hope he's building a component. It's why he's putting it up for sale. But you want to talk about a tractor that's customized to the nines and looks absolutely fantastic. That's another one that's for sale right now.
Yeah, Matt, we'll have to show you the picture of that one. For gear shifters, it's whiskey bottles, CNC machined.
Oh,
I was actually, as you guys were talking about that, I was pulling it up to see if I could find it.
Yeah, you did that tractor's.
Just if you got Facebook, search up whiskey business.
Oh, I found it. Yes.
Matt finds it. He likes it.
Here, I'm going to
Cruising Mule.
Yeah, I'll get Cruising Mule first. So Cruising Mule, Bill Miller.
About time.
Set to come back finally. Chaos finally got the tractor running this past weekend, and Cruising Mule is going to be back, and it's going to be a banshee.
I'm willing to bet Farm Show.
Oh, yeah. I bet they'll come to Farm Show.
Yeah.
Nobody does a slower windup on a pro stock under Freedom Hall's roof than Bill Miller.
And sounds just
so good. You can just feel the crowd come into that.
So this is the beginning.
There's got the gear drive in there and everything. Look at that.
Mm-hmm. I'm so excited for that one to be back, man.
I'm gonna address Dylan's comment here. Did Devin Riggins sell his tractor? The chassis, yes. The chassis, yes.
Yeah. Who did that? Was that Nick that did that video? Pull on this did the video for that one.
Yep.
Yeah, it's in Missouri. Don't really know what class it's going into.
My guess is the 9,000 Pro Farm class.
Yeah. I think that's where that one's gonna go.
And then this is new. For anybody that's listening, Henry Everman's Diesel Super was sold and going to Diesel Super.
Really? Wow. Okay.
I have a guess on who that is.
Why do I think it's the same person?
Oh, we know who this is. There's only one Diesel Super team in the entire state of Maryland.
Kryptonite.
Bingo.
Makes sense.
Unless there's like one we don't know of, but that's the only one I never know of.
Well, look, so like just when you said Kryptonite, I'm watching Matt's reaction to that, and he's like, yeah, it's like, okay, you're the smartest guy in the room. Like, share. Like, there's somebody else here.
I'm so used to it being the three of us is what part of it is. But yeah, so Diesel Super guys, Darren Olden. I don't know if they still have White Fawn. I assume it's still sitting up there. They have Diesel Super Stocks. That's the class where you get 3 and 4 turbochargers.
Okay. Yep.
They do not like to pull indoors. It is heck on them. We know from personal experience on that one. Anyway, but yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun.
All right. Cody's been adamant about this. Charles, please address this.
What? Yeah, actually, this will be a fun one.
Matt, you talk Formula One. I know nothing about Formula One.
I have the line. I will decide.
Yeah, Charles, give me your thoughts.
No, that is my thoughts.
Oh, that's your thought. Okay,
I'll decide. So Max Verstappen is getting a lot of crap for forcing people wide when he's the car ahead. This is not new. I'm a fan of 80s and early 90s F1. It's Ayrton Senna rules. I'm going to put my car where I want because I'm the car ahead of you. And if you want to run up my backside, that's your effing problem. And I'm going to take this place. Now, track limits, we can get into something else, but and I've got a different thought about how to fix that. That has been implemented in some places, but when it comes to if I'm the car ahead, I'll decide what my racing line is, and it's your problem.
So I don't disagree with that take. My thing with Max is he continually puts himself in positions where he ends up forcing a driver off. Now, is he ahead sometimes? Yeah, and I'm with you. If you're ahead going into the corner, it's your corner. It's up to the person that's alongside you to figure out how to make it through that corner. For Max, like this weekend in Mexico, turn 1, lap 1 with Carlos. He forces him off. That's Max's corner. He's got the inside. Carlos has to concede to that. The incident with Lando, the first one, they're side by side going into that corner. Like they are wheel to wheel. There's not necessarily a person ahead in that situation. Max was technically ahead on the straightaway. Lando has passed him or, caught him. That's the one I had an issue with. The next one where they go off in turn 7, I believe is what it was, or turn 8. That one was both of them, I think, just throwing hissy fits and both of them finding their way off the racetrack.
Yeah.
But
there
no,
was
I
some
mean,
of that.
you're right. Like Schumacher did the same shit. Senna's done it. Everybody does it. I think the biggest problem here is Max is always going to race like that because he knows he can get away with it. He doesn't do that to Lewis anymore because they've had their run-ins in the past, and I think there's a level of respect there. The biggest issue for me is Lando kind of being a baby about all of this, and he needs to stop looking at Max as a friend because he's not a friend. When you're on the racetrack, like you're rivals, and he needs to stop expecting Max to race him like a friend. So that's my biggest thing. All this, yeah, we can talk track limit or not track limits, but forcing people off. This kind of comes down to Lando just needing to nut up and be better.
You're 100% right. This is something that Martin Brundle talked about because Martin Brundle was a contemporary of Ayrton Senna's, and he had this happen to him, and he said that if he knew that if you showed Ayrton Senna a wheel down the inside and he slammed the door on you, Senna knew that he had beaten you forever psychologically.
Yeah.
The way to counteract that was to punt him into the friggin' trees and make him pay for it. Are you going to slam the door on me? Fine. I'll wreck both of us and screw you. Now, when we go to track limits, I don't necessarily like the way a lot of these facilities are built. This is not to talk about the street circuits because they don't have this issue, but a lot of the wider facilities that are, quote, whatever the grade 1 FIA facility makes for you. I'm fine with the big asphalt runoffs for safety's sake. How you solve this is beyond the curbing. You put 5 feet. I don't care if it's AstroTurf or gravel. If you come outside that curbing, it is going to cost you. You are going to spin. You are going to wreck. It's going to hurt you in terms of your race, not in terms of your person.
Right.
You will have that runoff beyond it. So you put that 5-foot strip around the outside of every corner, this problem solves itself.
I think Shanghai Circuit did that this year for Formula One. Somebody did it in terms of putting the gravel on the outside of the curb. And you're right. I don't want to, obviously, totally fine with the safety aspect of it. Paving, getting rid of the big gravel traps. I get it. But there needs to be some consequences for you running wide. Like you shouldn't just be able to save your day because you just decided to run wide in that situation. Yeah, no, I'm with you. How they police track limits is very frustrating at times, especially in Formula One, where they're like, oh, you're 4 tires over, this time over the white line. Well, it's like, all right, at the last track, it was the blue line. And that's
seems horrifically arbitrary, doesn't it?
Yeah. And like Cody said in that comment where he's like, racing's racing, but have to be consistent. Yeah, I'm with you. Consistent on the, forcing somebody off like Max did, consistent on track limits too, because without that, it's super frustrating.
Yeah. Matt, before we stick a fork in this one, I want to show you what a pro stock is.
All right.
Before we get gone, these are 680 cubic inches.
Why let him hear it
doing that? Will it fix itself? Yes, it will. So 680 cubic inches, 6 inch on the 6.3 by now on the turbo. Four. We've been out of the pro stock game for a little bit.
There was a 6.5 at one point, but it's now since been gone.
Yeah.
Just because it just backs itself up.
Yeah.
Can't hear it.
Don't mind me with the
chain.
You can't hear it. What?
The big point of a pro stock is hearing the womp 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 womp.
See if that does it. Yay?
Nope.
What? Okay.
Audio is not your strong point. Dylan, is the other super stock diesel truck going to Texas by chance at Red Chevy?
I have to share a tab or a screen instead. Hang on, man. I can fix that.
Dylan cannot confirm that.
What is it?
He's talking about another truck going to Texas being a red Chevy.
Pipe dream.
I know which one he's talking about, unless I had heard no. If he's talking about the one I think he's talking about, that's a no.
He's talking about Pipe Dream, and it's no.
As far as I know.
Which, gorgeous truck, but either way.
That truck is gorgeous. You're absolutely right. All right. Give me 1 second. I swear I know how to operate a computer, guys.
We can
So when
do
it
this.
comes to all these driver moves, like where do you get your how do you get your information? Is it from the builders, from the drivers, stuff like that?
How we
We
know
could
it?
tell you, but we have
Yeah.
to kill you.
Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah,
I figure like
yeah,
it seems like a much
yeah.
smaller circle than sort of what I delve in, where
It
I have a
really
bunch of
is a-
different people.
That's
is.
the problem with it, is that it is such a small circle that the second you tell somebody and that person violates your trust, they automatically know where it came from.
Yeah.
So it leads to really, really tight lips. And I would say if truck pulling has one big problem, that's it. The fear of knowledge, the fear of whatever you want to call it. It just like everybody gets so wound up about that. And I don't get it. If you sold your junk and somebody else bought it, like what's the secret? We're gonna find out. Like,
Yeah.
you know, just wait a couple months. We're gonna know. You know, it's just I don't get that. I really don't get it.
Yeah. Can y'all hear it now?
No.
What is happening? It was
let's
working a minute ago.
Anyway, we'll go to this portion right here. Cody's question. Matt, how many races do you attend versus watching online for the podcast? And does the in-person provide more content for you?
That's actually a really good question, because I've been to, this weekend will be my 6th cup race of the year. Probably my 14th NASCAR race overall, if we're counting trucks and Xfinity in there. And then I've probably been to 5 dirt races this year. 3 IndyCar races. So yeah, I've been to a fair amount of races this year. But in terms of does watching online or going produce more content for me, it's kind of a two-edged sword, because watching from home, I can get content out fast. Like that's easy for me. And I can get a lot more from that. Going to the racetracks gives me a different style of content. It's more like a vlog style, which is fine in its own right. But in terms of like what I typically do with news and recaps and everything like that, watching from home is so much better. But being there in person, as a fan, doesn't produce much content. If I'm there on VIP passes, that is actually probably better for me. And because I can just kind of bop around and talk to people and get some more information for things that I keep hearing all the time. But I also watch a lot of racing too. Like, hey, we got audio.
That's tin can audio.
Yeah, trying to explain stuff is like trying to explain someone what in like being at a race is like without just actually being there.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's more or less you just got to tell them you got to go to it and watch it to just understand it.
So 37 miles an hour doesn't sound fast. In one of those, it feels like you're absolutely flying.
Yeah.
Like at 90. Because you've got to think about how much weight you're pulling behind you, too. I mean, I can't see in that picture. I mean, Charles, how many have we seen in a box for pros before? I think 7.
Try that one down below.
Oh, so we're talking about Duramaxes before. This is kind of the tractor portion of a Duramax, the V8 Perkins, and there's still no sound.
We lost it. Charles, we have no sound.
Anyway, this is going off the rails real quick. Holy crap.
I just wanted to give him an idea of what it looked like, and
we can do this after the show too.
Yes, I'm gonna link after the show so I can hear it.
So
I just want to watch it leave the line because I want to see the wheel speed.
Yeah. So speed wise, yes, 37 or 36 miles an hour or 38 for a diesel truck down Georgia a couple years ago. It doesn't seem fast, but for us, it is fast because it's like trying to compare it to like a wing sprint car at a full hammer down on a straightaway.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen a 40-mile-an-hour pass, but that was like I think that was a once in a lifetime type thing to see. It was absolutely gorgeous.
So this is more something like where you want to get rolling and then really pick up your speed after that, right? Like just based on the video.
Maintain it.
Maintain
Your
it.
whole where you leave is what we call the whole shot, and
Right.
that is absolutely everything in a run.
Is wheel slip, like tire slip, is that like a real thing that happens?
Yes.
Or are you?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. That's what I kind of figured.
It's
Just
definitely
watching that.
measured. If
Yeah.
you can, the sled itself is designed to do a lot of different things. So the biggest thing about the sled is at the starting line, the skid pan at the back, the front is down, the back is up, and it has a hydraulic that will push down at a certain point. If you can be at max velocity when that drops down, that will carry you with your momentum. So the whole shot's important, but really also the ability to accelerate between 100 feet and whenever that push down comes in is going to be the key. And as fast as you can go within there is important. But then you also still need to be able to keep the engine within its power band to stay up top and keep lugging. So you're asking it to accelerate like a drag car, but then also lug like a sled puller. So the sport has really evolved to do two things now, whereas in the old days it was just one.
Right.
And so yeah, there's a difference there. Yep.
Yeah.
But you definitely get tunnel vision when you're going down through there. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I drove Tony's truck, I think I hit. I don't remember what I hit. 30 miles an hour, maybe, but I didn't see anything but the flagman down there. Nothing.
Nope.
It's totally different than anything like dirt track or stock car racing where your peripherals are important there.
Right.
Peripherals are not as important, but they're still beneficial because you don't want to get tunnel vision, because tunnel vision in dirt track or stock car is kind of going to hurt you sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. But Matt, thank you so much for coming on, man. We went way longer than what we normally do.
You
but
can stick
it was a
around
lot of
after the
fun.
show.
Yeah. We need to get you into with pulling a little bit more here after the show. So everyone that watched, thank you so much. Our next show, Clint Tucker's going to be on with us, and we will be setting the field for our picks for National Farm Machinery Show coming up. I've got light supers, light pros, and 4-1s. Wyatt, you've got dual the fuels, mods, two-wheelers. Charles, you've got Superstock Diesel 4x4s, four-wheel drive trucks, and Superfarm.
Yep.
So we will all be revealing what we believe lineups are going to be and try to beat our average from last year. So that's our big goal for this year. But until then, we will be posting that up, and just please share for that show. We want that show to be huge.
Yep.
And again, Matt, thank you, and we will see you guys later.
Yeah, stick around, Matt. We got a couple questions for you afterwards.
Yeah.